good evening. Welcome. This is Hot Edition. We're live on News about Desawe Kanda. Also live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. I am Alfred Ocansey.
My name is Hamoah-Agyemang.
This evening here on Hot Edition, NDC to prioritize job creation for the country's teeming youth as it launches a youth manifesto. The party's flag bearer John Dramani Mahama assures no Ghanaian youth will be left behind in terms of job creation.
The 8-hour work system that we currently operate is woefully inadequate to generate the production, the productivity, and well-paying jobs that are needed to revive Ghana's bankrupt economy. They are also inadequate to produce enough jobs for our young people.
Also tonight, Ghana National Association of Teachers, NAT, issues a 2-week ultimatum to the Ministry of Education to distribute laptops to teachers or incur their wrath. Also this evening on campaign trail here on your election command center, the CPP as Convention People's Party concluded vetting of flag bearer aspirants ahead of August 24 Delegates Congress. Plus, the People's National Party PNP have also announced the opening of their nominations, with those intending to contest for the flag bearership of that party to cop out some 100,000 CDs for their nomination forms. With details of these also on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. All right, we'll get straight into that. Before that, Safwa Boyne is here with a news summary. Safwa.
Thank you, Grace. On to our first story. Flag bearer of the National Democratic Congress, NDC, John Mahama, says no Ghanaian youth will be left behind in terms of job creation when the NDC assumes office. Addressing audience at the launch of the NDC Youth Manifesto, John Mahama, while touting his infamous 24-hour policy, said the policy will ensure jobs for all Ghanaian youth, as there would be 3 shifts for 1 job. Also, the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, has promised the youth of Ghana to support their startup businesses as well as small and medium-scale enterprises, SMEs, when voted into power. Speaking to commemorate this year's International Youth Day, Dr. Bawumia expressed his confidence that this will provide skills to more than 1 million youth in the country. And also, the former Chief Executive Officer of the Environmental Protection Agency, Dr. Henry Kwabena Kukufu, has called on the NPP to do all it can to win the 2024 general elections. According to him, the NPP's mantra of breaking the 8 is a must, and therefore urged the party to work effortlessly towards that vision. The minority in Parliament has formally requested a meeting with the Ghana Police Service in preparation for a second Occupy BOG demonstration. The protest, which is aimed at demanding the resignation of the Governor of the Bank of Ghana and his deputies, is scheduled to take place in the coming weeks. And on to our last story, the Electricity Company of Ghana has again cited the depreciation of the cedi against the dollar for its net exchange losses recorded in the 2022 financial performance report. Appearing before the Public Accounts Committee on August 12, the Deputy Energy Minister Collins Adoma-Komensa and Managing Director of the Electricity Company of Ghana, Samuel Dubik Mahama, explained the reasons for the losses. And this brings us to the end of our news summary, and over.
Thank you very much, Safwa. Well, let's get into that story of the NDC launch of the Youth Manifesto. And flag bearer of the National Democratic Congress, NDC, John Mahama, has given the firm assurance that no Ghanaian youth will be left behind in terms of job creation in the next NDC administration. Speaking to the youth wing of the party at the launch of its manifesto to mark International Youth Day, John Mahama says a major breakthrough for the youth in securing jobs will be his much anticipated 24-hour policy.
And for the policy to thrive, the government will have to invest in security and public safety measures, including recruiting additional personnel, enhancing street lighting to promote nighttime economic activity. Essential components of the public sector's 24-hour service, that is for the public sector, would include a 24-hour port and harbor, 24-hour customs service, 24-hour banking service, 24-hour vehicle licensing service, and 24-hour passport services, amongst others. I also intend to incentivize the private sector to operate 24 hours, and targeted sectors in the private sector would include 24-hour agro-processing, 24-hour manufacturing, 24-hour construction, 24-hour sanitation and waste management, 24-hour transport services, 24-hour financial institutions, and 24-hour retail and tourism services.
NDC flag bearer John Mahama there.
Let's stay a bit further on this matter, and Grace, and we're going to be getting a bit more into what John Mahama said. But Professor Kobe Mensah is joining us on the telephone. He's a political marketing strategist, senior lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School. Professor Kobe Mensah, appreciate your time. Good evening to you. Thank you for joining us here on Hot Edition.
Thank you, Alfred. Thanks for having me.
Now, it was a very, would I say, detailed presentation of what the youth manifesto of the NDC is, with thematic areas presented by specific individuals with specific skill set. Now, from the communications perspective, how much of clarity did that process of presenting the detail of this manifesto have for you?
Thank you, Alfred. I think that in communication, we always talk about your audience. Clearly, when you had segmented your market, which, of course, the youth, is a very critical segment, with regards to the electioneering processes. If you had then gone ahead to launch a youth manifesto, that's a bold statement of actually saying that you take that particular segment very critical, in your governance. I mean, I had actually said earlier with your team that the youth had actually become a forgotten constituency. We have actually used them to run the campaigns. They do the mobilization, they do the campaign rallies, they fill the campaign rallies, they create excitement for your campaign, all the political parties. But then in government, we seem to forget them. In terms of appointment, you see even a certain sports and youth and sports minister being a very grown-up person. We have experienced that over the years in this country. When it comes to the programming itself, you find the political parties focusing on sports, focusing on education. Of course, the youth are in sports and education as well. But we do not find those who actually aren't in the education system, aren't in sports, not actually affected. Most of the time, they actually left to their own destinies. And I think that having, that particular crucial segment, crucial constituency, with a manifesto dedicated for them is a bold statement. That is a very crucial, segment indeed for you to target. So I think this is a smart, innovative way of reaching them. Hopefully, the political party NDC would actually, walk the talk. Having said that, you're going to actually focus them, and none of them is going to be left behind. We hope that they would actually implement. And you see, the youth is critical. We have all heard the youth bulge. We have all heard the kind of agitations youth actually doing all over the world. And so there is a certain urgency that we focus on this particular segment. We always said that they are future leaders, but we haven't actually made the necessary commitment to ensure that we can make use of their energy, of their positivity, of the productive sector that these people can be put to. So I think that is a good move, and it's a very huge credit to the NDC. I would actually urge the other political parties to perhaps take a leaf out of this and perhaps, have a very strong signal to this particular group of people.
And all of this is predicated on the hope and expectation that the NDC would actually do what he said he was going to do, as captured in this document.
Absolutely. I mean, they should know that this is a group of people who have a very, a lot of energy. So if you do not actually say do what you say you're going to do, you can expect them to critically, evaluate your government. Of course, they would not actually shy away from making bold statements against you as well if you do not actually do so. I mean, having launched a manifesto is important. It sends a strong signal that you're actually taking them seriously now. But of course, they say the sweetness of the pudding is in the eating, and they would want to see indeed whether you would act on it. And I hope they would do. Otherwise, they will bring all their energies, to make sure that you feel their presence. So we look forward to a certain implementation.
And this is one you say the other political parties should emulate.
I think so. I mean, we have always had youth policies, but they have been buried. They normally get buried in youth and sports, and when they come into power, we see them paying so much money to black stars. You don't even see the sports angle apart from football. And so, and then of course, when it comes to youth, we box them up into the education. Of course, those who do not, fall within the education bracket, i.e., those who do not find themselves in schools, find themselves in training institutions or colleges, then they fall out. Then, So once you have a youth policy, then of course our youth manifesto, and of course we expect that even those not in school, those not in the education, for example, those not in sports, would still have, access to, the government, initiatives, programs, and to make their, time on this earth, worthwhile. I'm hoping that, the manifesto is capturing almost everybody that is youth, whether you're in school, whether you're in sports, whether you are, out of school, etc. So I hope that is very comprehensive enough to cover everybody so long as they are youth.
Prof, appreciate your time on this matter. Thank you. Thank you
for
so
having
much.
me.
I know you're running into a meeting. Professor Kobe Mensah is a political marketing strategist and a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School there.
Alfred, let's just stay on this and bring in the National Youth Organizer of the NDC, George Opare-Addo, who is also joining us online. So, Opare-Addo, thank you for joining us. This appears to be a novelty, a youth manifesto. What informed this decision, and is it necessary at all?
Good evening to your listeners. We believe it's necessary at this time since youth-related issues have become very dominant, and the youth currently dominates in terms of population size. Any political party that seeks to win political power must begin to take youth-related issues seriously. And we believe that it is time we sign a social contract with young people, spell out what we intend to do for them, give them the opportunity. And that is why we've launched the Youth Manifesto.
And among the policies is the pledge to scrap academic fees for tertiary students. How does the NDC intend to fund such an ambitious policy?
Let me correct it. To fund academic user fee for first-year students. And President Mama emphasized that we're going to use a GET fund and also look for other sources of funding. The GET fund, because it's been capped, it has not been able to do what it's supposed to do, and because they've also mortgaged it into other areas, that is what is causing the major problems. But like we are saying, once we assume power, and if we even cut waste, because if you look at the total cost, based on the costing we've done, it's about just 10% of how much we are spending on free SHS for first-year students. Because if you look at the residential, the faculty, the academic user fee for university students is less than, it's about 2,000 cedis for the year. The academic, and we are paying the academic user fee. That is what we are paying, the academic user fee.
So are you targeting only public institutions, or private institutions are also part of this?
Certainly, when you start any policy, you must begin small. So we'll definitely start with public institutions, and then after, once the policy comes to say we find a more sustainable way of funding it, then we can now extend it to other areas, to cover other areas.
So you also spoke about the GET fund. If you uncap the GET fund, is the NDC sure there will be enough funds in it to support this policy?
Once you want to do something, we'll definitely find the resources. We'll find the necessary resources to fund it.
All right. So the thing also about youth in the country now is also with job creation. What is the NDC's position on that? We've heard you talk about the 24-hour policy a lot more. What more should we be looking out for, especially with job creation?
I didn't hear that. Well, it's a bit noisy. I didn't hear that.
So I was talking about the NDC's master plan to ensure job creation in the country. We know it is like priority for every young person in this country.
Yes, if you look at our manifesto we launched today, right from the ICT components through to the 24-hour economic component, it is all about job creation. And what we can assure, and even with our apprenticeship program we intend to do, and the incubator programs we intend to do, all these programs are to see to it that jobs, not just jobs, but sustainable jobs, are secured for young people. And so we have a comprehensive plan for creating jobs for young people. Like we said, a 24-hour economy creates 3 jobs, 3 people, 3 shifts, 1 job. So with 1 job, you can create opportunities for 3 additional people or 2 additional people. And so whatever we seek to do is to create jobs. And that is the whole idea of our 2024 the Youth Manifesto.
Spreader, you know what will come out of this if the NDC is not able to implement all of this to the latter? We're seeing a lot of uprising and protests from youth in Ghana and other parts of the continent.
Over the years, the NDC have not made, we don't make empty promises. Over the years, the NDC don't make empty promises. Over the years, we don't make empty promises. Over the years, we don't make empty promises. So we seek to stick to things we are capable of doing. And I can assure you that we've sat down, we've looked at every policy critically, and we've done our own assessment. And we believe that whatever we are saying, we did not come and promise anything extraordinary. We are saying that we are going to implement a 24-hour economy. We are saying that we are going to pay free fee for first-year students. These are feasible. These are laudable policies that can easily be implemented. And that is what we are saying. So we are not talking about things that are in the abstract. We are talking about things that are real, things that you and I can relate with, things that you can have a feel of and do. And I can assure you that whatever we are saying, we are capable of doing it and doing it right.
All right. Thank you for speaking to us. George Opariado is National Youth Organizer of the NDC, updating us and assuring us of the NDC's commitment to fulfilling all that they have promised today in their Youth Manifesto.
And in fact, Grace, that question you ask about the pledge on this tuition-free education for first-year students and the emphasis on public universities, and I like the fact that you got that clarity, because that when that statement was made, the conversation on social media is whether private university students are going to benefit from this, right?
Yeah.
Now we're hearing that if at the NDC is so elected and comes into power, this promise to provide tuition-free education is going to be for first-year students in public universities. Okay, so in this case, we're talking about Legon University of Cape Coast, UDS, KNUST, right? So, and now the question is whether the technical universities are also going to be part of it, because now we don't have polytechnics. We've upgraded them to technical universities. We have a number of them across the country, right? As to whether they're also going to be grafted in. That then brings up the conversation about a bigger budget for it.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the 2022-2023 academic year, for instance, the University of Ghana alone admitted 15,000 new students into level 100.
And if the academic user fee for each person, like he says, is around
about 2,000. So you do the quick maths, right? You multiply 15,000, right, by 2,000. Let's get an idea of it, because you see, we're talking about funding this and whether
sustainability and viability. Yeah.
We're talking about 30 million.
That is for only University of Ghana.
So let's say all things being equal, we're doing the same figure for on the average for KNUST.
For UDS.
UDS doesn't admit so many students, admittedly. So you can scale that down to say like 8,000 or 9,000.
For UCC.
Around the same figure of 15,000, right? Is there that budget? The sustainability question is there, whether it is feasible, the feasibility and sustainability of it. And that's where the state of the economy comes in. Professor John Gachi is the Dean of the University of Cape Coast Business School. He's joining us on the telephone. Prof. Gachi, appreciate your time. Good evening. Thank you for joining us here on Hot Edition.
Thank you.
Now, all of these promises have a financial aspect of things to it. You've been very clear of the kind of 2025 we'll be inheriting and the state of the economy, the challenges we're going to be faced with. You are a senior lecturer, in fact, the dean of the University of Cape Coast, one of the public universities that, if the NDC wins this election, the first-year students to be admitted would benefit from this promise. From where you sit, can the economy sustain or even help the NDC fulfill that promise, considering the numbers that go into level 100 every academic year?
Okay, thank you. Well, I think I'll be speaking from the perspective of being a dean and what I've seen over the years in terms of admissions to level 100. I think I believe that there is a critical problem that we need to resolve as a country. You know that when the level 100s are in SHS, the results come just a week or two, then they get admission and they have to find money and come to the university. And on record, in my school, for example, we have to revoke admission of a number of students, even much more than what we have enrolled, just because the time period is too short for them to gather money to pay the fees to come to school. So for me, I see that there is a need to lessen the burden of parents, lessen the burden of students, the frustration that they go through. So that is a laudable solution to the challenges that our first-year students face when they come to school. But that also has implications for income for university administration. If you take it that in total we are going to admit about 100,000 students across Ghana, and we are going to pay an average fee of around 2,000 Ghana cedis, then you are looking at about 200 million. And should it be so difficult for government to find 2 million to give to university administration, or will it be an opportunity for the government to now look into the fee component of the university and see how much they can remit to the university to meet them halfway to administer the university? I believe that is the only challenge that the new government have to resolve and then roll out this particular program.
And it's a very crucial point that you make about, yes, this is good, it's going to lessen the burden of parents, but then you flip it around and you being at the helm of affairs as a dean in one of these public universities, you come to terms with the reality of the situation to the extent that, if I get you right, this academic facility user fee, the AFUF, is some form of IGF, the internal generated fund for the universities, correct?
In fact, the school fees in general is internally generated fund. So if you are minded to lessen the burden of parents and students and to allow entrance into university less burdensome for these students, then it means that government will have to look at the fee structure and see the component that ought to be paid to the university to run. Because part of the fees is remitted from the central administration to the college, to the faculty, and then the faculty also distributes same to the department to run. So we need to look at that. So the new government has to work assiduously with university management to see how they are going to support university management so that the department, faculties, and colleges can run, and for that matter, the entire university can run appropriately.
So, yes, I mean, there's some sense of possibility, but then again, you are asking for some engagement, collaboration to see
exactly, especially when it is not the entire 4 year that is free. It is. As I painted the picture, the difficulty they go to, the time period between the time the results come out and the time that they are seeking for admission. It put a lot of burden on parents, a lot of burden on students, and the students largely want to come to school. And the numbers that are admitted and the space that we have is not enough to admit all or to enroll all of them. So within a short period of time, you need to revoke the admission of many of them, and that they go may confuse here and there. So to resolve that is a laudable idea. It's a critical solution to that problem, but we can resolve what the government can do to support the university to run efficiently, because we are only talking about first year. The second year will be paying fees. The idea from fees is available, second year is available, and third year is available, and final year is available. This does not affect postgraduate and first entrance into the university. So it's just part of the money that may not be available to the universities. And this, I believe, can be managed to bring some kind of respite to these young ones who are stranded when it comes to admission time.
I see, and we don't have clarity as yet whether the technical universities are going to be part of this whole plan, because the context for this promise is quite clear that it's limited to first-year students of public universities. But the technical universities
are also public universities, and that's why I put a figure of around 100,000, including all that. And technical universities do not take so much students as the normal universities take. So when you put all together and you assume a figure of 100,000, and that for only first year, I think it is something that should be accommodated.
I see, and the AFUF is around 2,000, 2,500 on the average.
I'm not talking about academic user fee. I'm just talking about the fee. In fact, some of the fees, some of the students pay 1,300, some pay 1,008, some pay more depending on the program you are doing. So we are only doing average here.
Okay.
But the point is that it is not cascaded into second year, third year, fourth year. It is only first year. So that first year component, if the new government has a discussion with the university management, they could find a way of resolving that. That will not be much. If it were to be for the entire 4 years, then I will have a big problem with it.
I see. But then again, and finally, before I let you go, so this cost of tuition, which this promise borders on, is just a part or a component of the academic facility user fee, correct?
No. The fees are much more than the academic user fee. Okay. Academic user fee is just a component of the fee.
Right. So then the tuition fee is more than the facility user fees.
We just call it admission fee. So it is called admission fee. It includes almost everything. In fact, for the first year student, those who get admission into the halls, they are supposed to pay the hall fees and the rest. So we are just talking about admission fees. So admission fees will include the academic user fee, etc. So the fee component is there. I believe you could request from the public universities and look at the fee schedule and then do further analysis with that.
See, and that's important, because all these questions borders on some questions that our listeners are sending to us on our Facebook page. So this clarity is important. So we're talking about the admission fees, which borders on this bracket of this promise that the NDC is making. And yes. I thank you. Thank you so much, Professor John Gachi, and bringing the financial aspect of this to bear, because then again, it answers, Prof, that question about whether this can be sustained, the sustainability of it. Because then again, it's not just about making a promise that would just be benefited by some 2025, 2026 academic year first year students, and then the next year becomes a challenge, is it not?
Well, that's how it looks, but if you look at it from that perspective, that we are not talking about the 4-year period, we are only talking about 1 year, part of how much the students should pay for the first year, I believe it is possible to accommodate this if we prioritize it. And again, we look into what goes into the fee structure, and we try to clean the fee structure perhaps it may even become lower for the new government to shoulder. But the most important thing is that part of the fees go to run the entire university as part of the IGF. Part of the fees run the colleges. Part of the fees run faculties and departments. And the government should be aware that they need to have a chat with the university administrators and then find a way of how they are going to remit some money to them to cushion them in supporting the loss of the fees that this policy will occasion to the university coffers. And so long as that is done appropriately, I believe it can be done. And again, we also need to look at the general IGF regime of universities and then provide a further, proper management of IGF in the universities. And when that is done, I believe that will not be a problem.
Professor John Gachi, appreciate your time on this matter. Thank you for the clarity as always.
Thank you.
Professor John Gachi is the Dean of the University of Cape Coast Business School. He understands exactly what goes into the details of this admission fees, this promise that the NDC makes about making tuition free for first-year students.
Yes, Alfred, and I think
public universities.
It is a policy that I think will resonate well with young people, because this year when we began our cost of living series, I did some stories on the difficulty young people are facing in paying admission fees.
Right.
So you see a very brilliant student who is not able to come up with the funds to go to school. We had a number of them even coming to our premises to solicit for funds and all. And so if the NDC is able to carry out this just as they have said, I'm sure it will go down well with a lot of young people. We are looking forward to how they're going to implement. We don't want a situation where 2 semesters into the year, we are hearing universities now asking for their funds and then blah, 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 and all the wahala that it comes with.
Indeed. And the General Secretary of the NDC, Fifi Avikwete, challenged the youth to also partner the NDC to bring about the change the country desires. He accused the MPP governing party that's of implementing policies that are only targeted at winning votes.
Over the last 8 years, we have seen policies that have been unveiled. How many of you remember NAPCO? What has happened? What has happened to that? Because it was nothing but a scam and 419 policy. It was a policy that was designed just for votes. The difference between us and them is that we think about policy first for progress before votes. Our policies are meant for progress before votes. So whereas they think about power, we think about progress. And that is the difference between a party that cares and a party that only wants votes for the sake of votes. In John Dramani Mahama and the NDC, you are finding a leader of a political party that is not perfect, but a leader of a political party that has credibility and that wants to put the progress of our nation as number one. So these are policies that you can trust, as opposed to policies that are simply put out there in order to deceive you for your vote, and as soon as the vote is obtained, you are forgotten about. The young people of Ghana, we do not believe that our policies alone are going to deliver heaven. But what John Dramani Mahama is going to do is to reach out to you in a partnership, trusting that your creativity, your capacity to find your own answers, together with the policies we bring, are the means by which the transformation of our country can truly begin.
General Secretary of the NDC, Fifi Kwete there. Alfred, talking about young people, they dominate population statistics all over the world. Within the most populous age group, however, lies dreams, opportunities, and challenges alike. On International Youth Day, Enyonam Haliga explores how the advancement in technology is enabling today's youth address teething challenges.
This is what today's world is dominated by. The constant clicks and taps of screens of a world that is fully digital and soon virtual reality for all things digital too. The potential of digital technology has been seen, its effect felt, and its ever-evolving progress currently in motion. At the global level, digitalization is at the heart and center of providing solutions and critical in achieving the UN Sustainable Development Goals. In Ghana, mobile money is fast, and according to the United Nations, it is helping the poor access to financial inclusion. Jean-Claude is a food content creator in Ghana. He, like some other youth, are leveraging on digital platforms to earn a living. Beginning in 2020 when COVID hit, Jean-Claude is helping alleviate hunger, meeting SDG Goal 2.
For me, it was more of something to take my time because I was mainly at home doing nothing. And so I was doing that just to while away time. So the journey has been, just like any business, it's been up and down. I wouldn't say it's been rosy all through, but it's been a great journey. I really didn't get any negative, comments or feedback from friends and family. I think the support was there from the onset. In the beginning, I was just doing it for fun. I was just doing it to share to people online. But along the line, I started to work with brands. I started to get deals from businesses.
Jean is not alone. A fifth-year Doctor of Medical Laboratory Science student at the University of Development Studies, with the help of artificial intelligence, has developed a platform which uses artificial intelligence to identify cancerous cells, making laboratory work easier.
I noticed a number of steps processes in the lab that it takes some time for the result and then I decided to now blending my technical knowledge by building CI models that would kind of help to do the time taking processing test results to get them getting expectations for diagnosis. So many of Solvama is to kind of solve solutions or solve issues in your domain with code.
And Yunam Hali guest reports there. Still on that, as Ghana joins the world to observe International Youth Day, Ghana Action Network wants the youth to utilize their digital prowess for the betterment of Ghana, especially as the country heads to a crucial election on December 7. Salom Dramani Dramado is leader, Ghana Action Network, and he's joining us for a conversation on this. Salom, thank you for joining us. You want the youth to reject monetary inducement, advocate for peace, and use their digital platforms to drive positive change. How important is then, even as we head to the polls?
Yeah, it is very important because it's the youth that form the chunk of the voter population. And therefore, if the youth want to take a decision to vote, that decision must be anchored in something significant that will contribute to their development. So the youth shouldn't just be a willing tools in the hands of self-seeking politicians to attain their parochial ends. So we are in a digital world now, and the youth are the ones who are using the digital platforms to propagate peace, to propagate development. They are using it in both constructive and destructive ways. But Ghana Action Network is seizing the moment today to call on the youth, especially since we are in an election year, to make discerning choices as far as this election is concerned. So if you are a youth, you are going to vote, that decision to vote must be based on some concrete principles and values. That is, the individuals who are putting themselves up for the election, their own character. Because if the character of the person is not good enough, that person may have those solid plans, but the person cannot implement those plans for the betterment of this country. Because it takes a credible person to implement sound policies for the growth of a nation. That is why we are saying that the youth should, seize the moment not to follow self-seeking parochial interest of politicians, but to look at themselves and look at the policy programs that the politicians are putting out or putting across. That is the message they are selling to the youth. So if you are youth of this country, especially those who are unemployed or those who are grappling with the rate of unemployment in the country today, those individuals, those youth must look at the political parties or the presidential candidates who have credible and realistic policy programs that can create jobs for them.
And
The youth.
talking about unemployment, how do you think we can utilize the digital aid to reduce unemployment, especially when you look at the theme for this year, From Place to Progress, Youth Digital Pathways for Sustainable Development?
Yes, because the global labor market now has shifted from agrarian to digital. So the digital revolution has kind of disrupted the labor market. So since jobs are now created on digital platforms, the youth now have the opportunity now to use the digital platforms to create jobs. But that can only see the day of life if those who are implementing programs, those who are in charge of policy formulation and policy implementation, do the right thing that will enable or create the enabling environment for the youth to use the digital platforms to create jobs for themselves and to create jobs for others who are seeking or looking for jobs.
Salam, what should the youth also do to ensure they make good use of the digital era and not just be using the resources available to them to promote social ills or to abuse others?
If you could, I didn't quite hear that.
I was asking what the youth can also do to ensure they make good use of the era we find ourselves in and not just be using the resources available to promote social ills or abuse others.
Again, I had a difficulty catching the last word. Social what?
So, Salam, I was asking what young people can do now by using the era we find ourselves to also help ourselves and not use it to promote social ills.
Oh, fantastic. What the youth should do is to, especially those who have the know-how, that is how to use the digital platform, they should make their skills available to young ones who don't have but willing to learn the digital skills to also create something for themselves. Because even the digital platforms that we have today, they have all been created by young folks, so they can emulate the conduct of those individuals to also create something for themselves. For instance, if you are using Facebook, you should be using Facebook with some inquiry mind that somebody has been able to create this platform. What can you also do in that regard to also, get something for yourself? But not just using social media platforms to be propagating the misinformation, disinformation, outright propaganda being created by some political elements. You understand, to attain their end. The youth should assure that they should avoid being used as tools for politicians. They should use the digital platform, because that is the area we are in now. The area we are in is digital. So since we have some analog minds who are still in the helm of affairs, it is incumbent on the youth now to demonstrate to the analog minds that they understand the digital world and they have the digital skills to be able to replace the analog minds we have.
Okay.
Because we have analog minds, that is why things are not even accelerating the way they should. So the youth should charge themselves to replace the analog minds. So we have we have digital minds in the system for accelerated growth.
Salam, and when it comes to policy-wise, what would you say? Have we done enough? Is there room for improvement?
Okay, the room for improvement is always large, and it's ever increasing. So there's a room for improvement as far as government policies, because all these things, it's government that will lead the charge. It's government that will create the enabling environment for the digital platforms to even thrive. So if governments are not creating or this government is not creating the infrastructure for the digital space to thrive, it will be difficult for the youth to use the digital tools to their advantage or to create jobs for themselves.
Okay.
That is why it is incumbent, or the onus is on policy formulators or policy makers to continue to create digital space, like what the NDC presidential candidate said a while ago, that when he built the Accra Digital Center, he built that center to actually get to provide a platform for the youth to deploy their digital prowess.
All right.
So they can create jobs for themselves and those who are willing and able to work but cannot find work.
Okay. Salom, thank you for speaking to us. Salom Dramani Dramado is leader, Ghana Action Network, speaking to us about World Youth Day and what young people in Ghana need to do to maximize the resources available to them.
Well, on a day like this, the new Patriotic Party flag bearer and Vice President Dr. Hamoah-Agyemang has also promised the youth of Ghana to support their startups and small and medium-scale enterprises when voted into power. Speaking to commemorate this year's International Youth Day, Dr. Hamoah-Agyemang says he's confident this will provide skills to more than 1 million youth in the country.
Going on to provide access to finance for startups in various areas, the creative arts, tourism, and the mining sector are all very important growth goals that we as a government are going to focus on. One of the areas that I'm going to be very, very keen on is training 1 million youth in digital skills. 1 million youth in digital skills. So that the youth, because without the skills, the youth cannot have the opportunity to participate fully in the fourth industrial revolution. There are many job opportunities, both inside and outside Ghana, if you have the skills. And training the youth in digital skills, the youth don't necessarily have to have a university degree or go into a polytechnic. As long as they can read and write, we can train them to be digitally literate and they can work.
As the Vice President, flag bearer of the MPP there, Dr. Hamoah-Agyemang, Minister for Youth and Sports, Mustafa Yusuf, assured Ghanaian youth of more opportunities.
Your Excellency, your work exemplified the progress. And I quote, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, the second best time is now. You have planted the seed of digitalization transformation, and we are already beginning to reap the benefits. The youth of Ghana, in particular, are taking the mantle and leveraging the status to create, innovate, and lead. They are driving the force behind our nation progress. It's our duty to support and guide them on this path. Ladies and gentlemen, as we reflect on this year's event, we must acknowledge that digital landscape offers countless opportunities, but also challenges. Our youth are navigating a world where clicks, likes, and shares are powerful tools, but the true measure of progress lies in how this digital interaction translates into a real world change. We must encourage our youth to move beyond the mere digital engagement to harness the full potential of technology for sustainable development. This year calls to action for all of us policymakers, educators, and leaders to provide the necessary support and infrastructure to enable our youth to strive in this digital era.
As the Minister for Youth and Sports, then still on the day, the International Youth Day today, my colleague Christian Yale has been interacting with some young people, specifically about their aspirations in this country and whether they have been met or not.
According to the 2023 annual household income and expenditure survey, 1.9 million youth aged 15 to 35 in Ghana are not employed. This is the concern of many youth who feel helpless about their future, questioning how they can create a bright future with such limited opportunities.
It's actually not easy being a youth in Ghana. I feel it's a whole depression on its own because Ghana as a country have its own problems and it tends to affect the youth even more. And so this places a high responsibility on me.
We celebrate the youth of today globally, but what is the youth of Ghana celebrating today? As for me, today's day is not a day for any Ghanaian youth to celebrate because it is a day we need to mourn and then let the politicians understand that they have woefully failed us.
The prospect of entering the job market is frustrating, especially for those who are about to complete school. But even beyond this, some are worried about how high mental health cases among the youth are soaring, a problem that has not received much attention.
My main challenge for the youth is not really unemployment. It has to do with mental health issues. You know, as a youth, you battle with decisions, choices. Now I'm in 400, I'm about to leave school. Every day on my bed, every day when I am on my bed, I think, so what am I going to do after school? Am I going to be part of the unemployed labor or am I going to get employed? Where am I even going to stay? Where am I going to do my national service? These are things that can really affect your mental health.
Reports indicate that productivity has stagnated in various services, especially in the employment sector. And for many, successive governments seem not to have done enough to address the challenges.
I believe that whenever I speak of celebration, it's two things that come to play. Is celebrating how far you've come and then also acknowledging what is to come. We are in a dispensation where, for lack of better words, let me say, it looks like there is no hope for the youth. I mean, if you don't know anybody, then whatever it is they are doing, there is no motivation or nothing arouses your interest to keep on doing it.
In fact, we are in this school, University of Ghana. We are not doing anything. What we are doing right now as our occupation is students. Our parents send us money and we use that money to feed ourselves. They send you more than, let's say, 500 cedis, and within the next few days, you know you can't buy food 30 Ghana cedis on campus to even eat.
As unemployment, underemployment, and limited opportunities surge among the youth, a strong call is made for meaningful participation of young people in governance to address the looming challenges.
At the end of the degree, at the end of the masters, what do we see? We are still unemployed and unemployment rate is that high in our community. They should create more employment opportunities for the youth.
And so today has been marked as International Youth Day. This is the call that policymakers factor the youth in the country's developmental agenda.
As Christian Yale there, that report marking the International Youth Day. Grace.
Alfred, let's do education now because the Ghana National Association of Teachers, NAT, has given the Ministry of Education 2 weeks to distribute the laptops to teachers. According to the union, the delay is creating agitations and anger among members, which could mar the peaceful industrial climate. In July this year, the Minister of Education, Dr. Yaoseduchum, promised to distribute the laptops as soon as possible. Thomas Musa Tanko is General Secretary of NAT. Well, we'll bring you that audio subsequently. So far, more than 3,000 of the laptops have been distributed to teachers nationwide. There are more than 60,000 of the laptops which are yet to be distributed since 2018, and the delay has created anger among the teachers nationwide. Alfred.
We're going to be bringing you more of this here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, also live on Kesme 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We are live on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. We're back shortly with the business news, and Bismarck Kosa is standing by with the details.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the business segment on Hot Edition with me, Bismarck Kosa. Coming up, analyst urges National Petroleum Authority to explore ways to integrate LPG marketers in cylinder recirculation model following association's boycott of Sage Petroleum and Blue Ocean as off-takers. We'll bring you details. Thanks for your company. Now to our very first story. Energy strategist Dr. Yusuf Suleimana is urging the National Petroleum Authority, NPA, to find a way to integrate LPG marketers into the cylinder recirculation model that does not require them to scrap their existing equipment and infrastructure. This is coming after the LPG Marketing Companies Association of Ghana announced a boycott of Sage Petroleum and Blue Ocean effective today in a bid to protect its members' businesses. Sage Petroleum and Blue Ocean are poised to enter the LPG retail market through the cylinder recirculation model, a move the association believes will threaten their livelihoods. But speaking to 3 Business, Dr. Yusuf Suleimana noted that allowing the marketers to continue using their existing infrastructure saves them from significant financial losses and preserves their investments.
And like I said, there has to be some concessions. Probably if there's opportunity to give them more time with clear-cut timelines to probably meet, see how fast they can recoup their investment. But I think the best form of if they could be, assimilated into the current model, that would have been great. If they can find a position, a place for them within the chain, the distribution chain of the current model, that would be fine. So I urge the regulator to look into that to see probably where some of these places can be found, where we can find them located, where we can find them fixed within the current chain. Otherwise, we may have to give them a little bit of time. I don't know how much, because I believe the regulator has done that. And bear in mind, this CRM didn't come in a vacuum. You remember what happened within the atomic junction incident explosion. That was unpalatable. That was a very horrible scene. And in this business, I think safety is of paramount concern.
And that was energy strategist and chief executive of Eureka Energy Solutions, Dr. Yusuf Suleimana. Moving on, Ghana will rely heavily on treasury bills as well as multilateral and bilateral lenders to meet its financing needs until 2027 due to restricted access to international capital markets. This is according to the World Bank's 8th Ghana Economic Update, which highlights the country's ongoing challenges in securing external funding amid global economic pressures. The following 3 Business News Desk report has more.
Government financing during 2024 to 2026 is expected to be limited to multilateral and bilateral partners and domestic treasury bills. According to the World Bank, Ghana will rely mainly on T-bills, multilateral and other bilateral lenders for financing until 2027. From 2023 to 2026, the World Bank is expected to disburse about $3 billion, including about $1.5 billion for project loans, $1.15 billion for budget support, and $400 million for other projects. Over the same period, the African Development Bank will disburse $338 million, of which $200 million will be earmarked for project loans and grants, and $103 million for budget support during 2023 to 2024. On the domestic side, the World Bank foresees a reintroduction of medium and long-term domestic debt issuance in 2025 as the domestic bond market is restored.
And that was a 3 Business News Desk report. Now, professional services firm Deloitte Ghana has emphasized 2 pivotal areas in its analysis of the 2024 mid-year budget review presented by the Finance Minister, Dr. Mohamed Adam. The firm strongly advocates for the swift operationalization of the Independent Tax Appeal Board, ITAB, and the strategic extension of tax incentives to private sector players involved in road construction projects. The following 3 Business News Desk report has more.
Deloitte highlights that the proposed regulations to fully operationalize the Independent Tax Appeal Board, ITAB's hearings, are crucial for enhancing the efficiency of tax dispute resolution in Ghana. Established under the Revenue Administration Amendment Act in 2020, ITAB was only inaugurated in 2023, leaving a gap in the country's tax administration framework. Deloitte believes that fully operationalizing ITAB will not only streamline tax dispute resolution, but also provide greater business certainty, which is vital for fostering a stable and predictable business environment in Ghana. In addition to ITAB, Deloitte also points to the proposed extension of tax incentives as a significant opportunity for economic growth. Specifically, the firm views the government's plan to extend these incentives to private sector players partnering with the government on road construction projects as a potentially transformative move. If implemented on a national scale, Deloitte suggests that this initiative could unlock new opportunities for public-private partnerships in infrastructure development, a sector critical to Ghana's long-term economic strategy. Deloitte also acknowledges the government's proposal to extend tax incentives to manufacturers of two-wheeled and three-wheeled electronic vehicles. This initiative aligns with Ghana's broader environmental goals under the Paris Agreement, promoting eco-friendly transportation options and supporting the country's commitment to reducing carbon emissions. This initiative aligns with Ghana's broader environmental goals under the Paris Agreement, promoting eco-friendly transportation options and supporting the country's commitment to reducing carbon emissions.
And that will be all for the business segment on Hot Edition with me, Bismarck Ausa. For more business stories, please log on to 3news.com. Thanks for your company. Bill Eshan is here for the sport. Do stay.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the sports segment here on the 3FM Hot Edition. My name is Billy Shen. Starting off from local football, the Ghana Football Association would, from August 13th to 20th, offer free license D coaching courses across multiple regions. This initiative aims to enhance coaching skills and support grassroots football development. And ahead of the event, coach for Nations FC, Kasim Mengo Ocansey, has highlighted on the importance of having good quality head coaches for the various clubs in the Ghana Premier League.
You see a Premier Division player, he doesn't know where to use to shoot. He doesn't have the basic techniques. So when you don't develop it, teach him how to do it, whatever you'll be doing will not work. So you have to take him through all that things for him to get to that stage. Then apply the tactical play, then it will work.
That was Kasim Mengo Ocansey, the head coach of Nations FC. Still on local football, Midiama SC failed to defend their title during the 2023-24 season when they finished 8th in the Ghana Premier League table. And they are currently camping in Koforidua ahead of the new campaign. Evans Adote, who is the technical director of the club, has explained what went wrong with them last season and has listed his targets for this campaign.
Read my report or maybe shortcut my report, you come to realize that we didn't take it easy. Yeah. Traveling, playing away from home, traveling to and fro. The team was engaged in outstanding matches. Talk of the Premier League. After a Premier outstanding game, you have to travel back to Cape Coast. Sometimes you travel from Kumasi to Takwa to Cape Coast. It was terrible. These are also some of the factors that contributed to our exit from the tournament.
That was Evans Adote, the technical director for Midiama SC. Moving on to European football, head coach of Bournemouth, Adoni Arala, has outlined his expectations for the club this season. Andoni took AFC Bournemouth to their highest ever Premier League points total of 48 with a 12th place finish, and the manager is keen on bettering what they did last season.
We cannot control the expectations, and I've said it a lot of times, I don't trust too much the long-term goals, because at the end, once we play against Forest first day, if we lose, we're going to relegate or we will be there. If we win, we're going to be the top 10. No, I don't think it's going to be like this. At the end, 38 games, the table puts you more or less in your position, and right now we've showed that past season we finished 12th. I think there are teams in the Premier League, I would say the top 10 that are above the rest right now. But we will try to fight and we will try to compete against every team.
That was Andoni, the head coach of AFC Bournemouth. To some transfer news, Atletico Madrid have announced the signing of forward Julian Alvarez from Manchester City. The 24-year-old completed his medical with the La Liga Giants on Monday and has put pen to paper on a 6-year deal until June 2030. According to multiple reports, the deal, including add-ons, could be worth up to £81 million. Now, Black Stars forward Ibrahim Osman is set to be loaned to Feyenoord from Brighton and Hove Albion. According to transfer guru Fabrizio Romano, the deal has been agreed with no buy option clause. The medical would be on Tuesday with the official presentation scheduled for Wednesday. And before I do go, Kurt Zuma's proposed move to United Arab Emirates side Shabab Al Ahly has collapsed after the West Ham defender failed a medical. The 29-year-old traveled to Dubai to complete a lucrative deal, but his advisors are now trying to work out an alternative option. Zuma still has a year left on his Hammers contract, but the club has already brought in another central defender in Jean-Claire Todibo from Nice on a loan deal that includes a €40 million obligation to buy the 24-year-old Frenchman. In addition, West Ham paid Wolves £40 million for their skipper and another centre-back, Matt Kilman.